About one of America's favorite comedians who suddenly vanished from the public eye a few years back. What happened to Dana Carvey was a terrifying brush with death, something he has never talked about in such depth before. On the eve of the opening of his new film, I sat down with Dana Carvey to talk about when bad things happen to a funny man. For an unusually long TV moment, it seemed like Dana Carvey was almost everywhere, roasting almost everyone with his dead-on impersonations. He's been Regis.
The wife had me put the tux on with the shoes and the cummerbund. I don't mind saying I look great.
And Johnny.
This is kind of weird, kind of wild.
Ross Perot.
Well, now we're just playing games here, huh?
And George Bush.
Stay the course. 1,000 points of light.
He's played a grumpy old man.
I'm old and I'm not happy.
And an unforgettably uptight woman.
Well, isn't that special?
And then suddenly it was as if Dana Carvey packed up his odd case of characters and simply vanished from the screen.
Could it be Satan?
In fact, it was a kind of near-death experience. Carvey had a heart problem that should have been repaired with a routine procedure. It didn't play out that way. But at least these days, at 47 years old, he is a healthy husband and father of 2.
What has shadowed me a little bit is people thinking something's wrong with me. You'll see guys, 400-pound guys with a Philly cheesesteak and a cigarette go, "Mr. Carvey, I'm worried about your heart." You know, I'm like, I'm actually okay.
Okay, and back on the big screen, this time with a new cast of Carvey characters. A turtle, for one.
But am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
And there are 35 others he conjures in his new movie, The Master of Disguise.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do.
Carvey grew up outside San Francisco, entertaining his family with his uncanny impressions.
The first voice I did was when the Beatles came on Ed Sullivan. The next day, I came into my mom, and she's making breakfast, and I said, "Hello, Mom, do you think I could get some pancakes?"
What did she do?
She screamed. She dropped her spatula and said, "Make him stop!"
But of course, he kept going and eventually took his act to local comedy clubs.
Did your dad make noises when he talked? He'd go, "Kids, hey, you want to go to the store, pick up some milk, and bring it back home, huh?"
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
In 1986, the big break. Saturday Night Live hired him to headline a new season and boost ratings.
The pressure was just ridiculous. And fortunately, the church lady worked for me on the first night.
The Prince of Darkness, the Antichrist, the Beastmaster. Probably rings a little bell in your head now, doesn't it?
With the rest of the writers and crew, Carvey developed sketches.
We just want to pop you off.
And impersonations that redefined political parody.
Because we have learned, well, the simple lesson of Vietnam. Stay out of Vietnam.
How do you nail these guys? How do you practice? Do you listen to them?
I just abstract them, you know. I just take it really far. I mean, by the end of George Bush, I was going, "Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be Putin at this juncture." And people were going, "It's so accurate. My God, you're doing the president."
The president himself loved it.
The way to do the president is to start out with Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Then you add a little John Wayne. Here we go. Let's go over the ridge. You put them together. You got George Herbert Walker Bush.
His greatest commercial success came working with friend Mike Myers.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth. Okay, all right.
It was a Saturday Night Live skit they took to the big screen. Wayne's World made $170 million. A year later, a blockbuster sequel.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Which takes us to his sudden disappearing act 5 years ago. He began to feel chest pains while jogging one day.
This doesn't feel right. This is weird kind of burning, you know. So I had a doctor check me out. He runs me on the treadmill, and I'm still so fit that I'm breaking the record in the doctor's office while he's discovering that I probably have a blocked artery.
Carvey was the picture of health, but he has a family history of heart disease and high cholesterol. And live comedy is high-octane stress.
I was sweating in adrenal for 20 years with cholesterol 450. That's like a match to gasoline.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of time.
After 3 angioplasty procedures failed, Carvey's only option was bypass surgery. He chose a renowned surgeon near his home outside San Francisco.
It was like 5, 4, 3, 2, and then like 5 hours. I wake up. I got a tube coming out of everything, places I didn't even know a tube could go in.
Carvey began to recover until something again felt wrong inside.
I start hiking in Lake Tahoe at 7,000 feet. Burning's still there. What? They go, that's probably just post-surgical, blah, 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 you know. So then I finally get checked 2 months later. They go, well, doesn't seem to be flowing too well.
He called Dr. P.K. Shah, the head of cardiology at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, for a second opinion.
I exclaimed to him on the phone, Dana, I think your bypass has been screwed up, and you better fly to L.A. and let's do an angiogram and find out what went wrong.
So then they did another angiogram, and they noticed that he bypassed the wrong artery. He was very close.
They connected it to the wrong artery?
Yeah. Yes.
And when they told you this, your reaction was?
Come again? Excuse me? You know, I couldn't believe it. You know, I was just stunned.
Carvey realized that for months he had been a time bomb and says because of what happened, could have had a fatal heart attack at any moment.
So I went back to the hotel and I just did one of those kind of movie cries where you're just like, I can't believe they connected the wrong artery.
Did you call the surgeon up in Northern California and say, excuse me, how did this happen?
Yeah, I couldn't get in touch with him. It was a rough thing for him, too, because I think that he just couldn't accept it.
Dr. Shaw and his team performed an emergency angioplasty to open the artery that was still narrowed. While he was recovering, Carvey waited for an apology from the surgeon, an apology he says he never got. So he sued the doctor for $7.5 million, the amount of money he says was lost earnings. If he had just said, I'm sorry I screwed up, you would not have sued?
I couldn't have, no. It was only because in his deposition he said, I didn't make a mistake. Total, denial, so I had to.
But then, during the trial, the denial turned into an excuse. The surgeon's defense stunned Carvey and his lawyers. The argument read, the doctor could have been misled by the unusual anatomy of Mr. Carvey's heart.
It's your fault. And
It's your fault because your heart.
He just made it up.
Dr. Shaw, who testified at the trial, said Carvey's anatomy was not at all unusual.
It was a pretty ordinary case, as ordinary as we see day in and day out.
He showed us with the actual films of Carvey's heart. First, he outlines the 2 blocked arteries.
These are the 2 branches on the left side of the heart, and right around here, one can see that there's a severe narrowing of this branch and this branch of the left coronary artery.
And then, this is where he says the surgery went wrong. Dr. Shaw said, think of Carvey's heart as a redwood tree. The other surgeon connected the artery to a very small branch rather than to the main tree trunk.
And it's hooked up to this tiny branch, when in fact it should have been hooked up down here.
The clarity of Dr. Shaw's films was compelling evidence. After they were played in court, the surgeon's insurance company settled with Carvey for an undisclosed amount, but never admitted liability. Carvey donated all the money to charity.
And David Carvey!
Today, Carvey has a clean bill of health. He proved his point last week when he appeared on The Tonight Show.
There you go. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. 2, 3, 4.
So he is back. It's as if the man who disappeared for a few years never really left. Now, in The Master of Disguise, Carvey plays Pistachio Disguisi, a sweet-natured Italian waiter who discovers he has an amazing knack for mimicry. For the man of 1,000 faces, the roles seem fitting. In fact, not only is he back, it's as if he can't really stop himself. Our interview was over when he transformed himself into Turtle Guy.
He would say the city enlisting would be Kabul, Afghanistan, listing evildoers.
In some ways, you're actually a lucky man to have gone through this incredible ordeal.
I think anyone would be. I'm lucky because I got all the lessons of it, and then I get to feel great and go about my business, make movies, have fun.
And laugh with another President Bush.
People been cooking the books, fudging the numbers. but we're going to make sure that we get corporate responsibility in America today. Take it, Dad. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
You can watch Dana Carvey actually transform into a turtle at abcnews.com.